Everyone. My name is Allison DeGuide, and I'm with the Illinois Restaurant Association. I'd like to thank you for joining today's business advising session on health inspections made easy. This business advising session is being presented by the Illinois Restaurant Association in partnership with the Cook County Small Business Source. Established to ensure businesses emerge from COVID-19 intact and positioned for growth, the Small Business Source connects small business owners with expert guidance and support. Services include no-cost business advising, resources, and events that connect small business owners with a community of advisors. If you're interested in one of our advisors reaching out one-on-one for further business advising, sign up at cookcountysmallbiz.org. It's free and easy to sign up. For today's business advising session, we encourage you to ask questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we will call on you. We also have a team from the IRA here today to assist with further questions. At this time, I'd like to introduce our expert advisor, Rebecca Fife, Director of Research at Landmark Pest Management. Rebecca, please take it away.
Thanks so much for having me. And let me share my slide deck with you. All right. So in Chicago, the FDA food code is modified by what we call the Chicago Food Code. So it's heavily influenced by that. It's like 95% that, and then a portion Chicago's own flair. And there's a 2022 version of the FDA food code, but Chicago still uses the 2017 edition. So it's really important to know your regulatory standards. And I've taken everything that is relevant to restaurants in Chicago from this really long document, and I've made a bullet pointed list so that you can self-audit your restaurant before a health inspection. So that will be one of the resources that you get with this presentation. I also have a list of helpful links. So any resources or signage that you're supposed to have in your restaurant is something that you'll receive. So if there's anything that you feel that you need to write down or capture a link to that I share in this presentation, don't worry, you're getting a copy. The reason that I'm able to share all of this with you is, in addition to being a pest control scientist and the director of research for Landmark Pest Management, our restaurant division managers are also Serve Safe Manager certified. So we're also experts on the food standards in restaurants, not just those that relate to pests. So a lot of times we'll be in restaurants to inspect something pest related. Like, let's say one of our clients will contact us and say, our landlord is putting in new drains under our floor, and we're really scared what's going to happen when they open the sewer. Can you come check this out and, just let us know if any preventative measures need to be taken? And while we're there, if the manager's not on site, we might see team members doing things that would make them not fail a health inspection if we were a health inspector. So we will very tactfully and privately share that with the GM of our client locations because we're also knowledgeable about the other inspection standards that don't pertain to pest control. So we encourage our clients to always stay inspection ready, and we always let them know if we feel that there are opportunities for them to improve that training. Landmark Pest Management is the only pest control firm in the United States to ever win a federal award for innovation. So while we're woman-owned and located right here in Cook County, we're objectively ranked as the best pest control firm in the United States. And our restaurant clients have the highest health inspection passage rate in Chicago. So we are absolute experts on having you pass your health inspection. And I hope that this presentation and the slide deck that follows are a tremendous resource to you. If you have any questions during the presentation, just like Allie said, please go ahead and ask those. So if you're not in Chicago, it's very important to know your regulatory standards, because just like Chicago has the food code plus the Chicago standard, towns outside of Chicago or counties outside of Chicago can also, as an adjunct to the food code, adopt their own town standards. So you need to know what regulatory compliance means for you. So if you're not in Chicago, I just want you to call the town that you're in, ask for the health department, let them know that you want to know the regulatory standard by receiving any type of regulatory documents that you need to comply with in terms of your health inspection passage. And in Chicago, there are 7,300 restaurants. And I could tell you why any of those restaurants fail their health inspections, but that might not be relevant to you, as restaurants are very different from one another. So, what makes the taco stand that's connected to a gas station or a restaurant inside of a university building or hospital fail its health inspection might not be relevant to your operations. So, to make this presentation specifically relevant to IRA members, I analyzed all of the publicly available data and aggregated a list of health inspection failures in Chicago for 2024 for only operators like you. So, what do I mean by operators like you? Well, that's chef-driven concepts and fine dining. It's also high-end fast casual and counter service that's upscale. It's restaurants that appear on best of lists in Eater, Shy Infatuation, Cranes, and Chicago Magazine. It's restaurants that win awards and make lists. So I found 672 of them, and I thought that discussing those restaurants, their health inspection results would be so much more relevant because those restaurants are exactly like the membership demographics of the IRA. So let's talk about restaurants just like yours. So, of those 672 restaurants that I consider restaurants that would be IRA members, many of them are, um, 521 of those, or 77, passed. And of that 77% of the restaurants that passed, not all of them passed outright. Some of them passed with conditions. And we'll talk next about what passing with conditions means. And then 151, or 22% of them, failed. And of those that failed, pests were implicated in 38% of those failures. So we'll talk about the reasons that those high-end restaurants failed their health inspections, whether pests were implicated in those failures or not, and how you can safeguard your operations by using the checklists that I'm providing to keep your restaurant inspection ready to ensure that you pass. So let's talk about what passing with conditions means. So there are some violations where the inspector isn't going to fail you, meaning they're not going to close your operations. They're going to pass you and allow you to continue operating, but it's a pass with conditions, meaning they schedule a return date to come and make sure or have you send them whatever's missing. So for instance, if there's no certified food manager on site, they might, and you have to go and take the class and take the test, they might say within 90 days, you have to send us proof that this has been attained. So passing with conditions means that you stay open, but it's still a ding. It still puts your name in, publicly available data, and it's not great. So you want to just pass. That's the next best thing, is to pass with conditions. And then failing means that the inspector found an immediate threat that has a high risk of causing foodborne illness that can't be corrected while they're standing there. So if it's something that you can fix while they're right there, so a really good example is they find, time and temperature controlled foods that are at the wrong temperature, or they find, poultry being stored above produce. If you can throw those items away while they're standing there, they're not going to close your restaurant. They're going to ding you for it. They might issue you a citation, but you will remain open. But if it's something like, broken coolers that aren't maintaining the minimum temperature standards and you can't get them operable and to the correct temperature while the inspector is present, the establishment will be closed until, that can be remedied. So, of the 75 restaurants that failed their inspections, and remember, this is only this is out of, 151 failures out of, 672 high-end restaurants just like yours. So out of those 151, um, that failed, 75 of them were pest related failures. They may have had, some of them had other issues as well, but in 75 of those 151 failures, pests were one of the issues, at least one of the issues that the restaurant was closed for. So, 16 instances of mice in restaurants. 7 instances of rats in restaurants, including one restaurant that had rat droppings under the bar, in the kitchen, in the storage, on the jars of the, long-term storage items. 28-ish instances of small flies, and these can be fruit flies, and they can also be fungus gnats, and they can also be drain flies. So the Chicago Department of Public Health generally doesn't differentiate between different types of flies. Maybe they don't know the names of them. So in a lot of the reports, if it's drain flies, they'll refer to them as black flying insects. And so we kind of lump all small flies together, even though they are treated differently and they have different sources. Cockroaches were found live in 16 of the restaurants, and one restaurant had a bird flying around, which caused the failure. There were no other issues. That was the only thing wrong, and they failed the restaurant and closed it because of the bird flying around. Doors that lack rodent-proof door sweeps, 9 instances, and they failed the restaurants for door sweeps, even in instances where pest evidence was not present inside the restaurant. And one restaurant was failed because it had a fly light mounted above clean dish storage. And then 8 restaurants had logbook problems. So the manager couldn't find the logbook during the inspection, or the pest control provider didn't print reports and put them in the logbook. A lot of pest control companies will only email reports to restaurants. And because you could be inspected at any moment, I don't think that's reasonable. So it's important that your pest control provider always uses a mobile printer to print the report while they're on site and put it in the book so that you're not caught without it. So I think that should be a minimum standard of what you're expecting from your pest control provider. So let's talk about some of the most common issues that were found. So if you look at the highlighted text, this restaurant was failed because there was no consumer advisory regarding raw or undercooked food on the menu. And I have the consumer advisory sign that the city publishes that needs to be posted. And then I put here the rule as stated in the Chicago Food Code to let you know how and where that needs to be placed. Later in this presentation, I will have a link to this sign so you can go and print it and get it on display. Thanks. So the next thing is improperly stored wiping cloths. This is so common in restaurants. I see this all the time when I'm inspecting, and I'll ask the GM, I'll say, I was in your restaurant today. Do you want to hear from me about things that would have made you not pass an inspection today that aren't pest related too? Or do you only want to hear about pest related things from me? And like 100% of the time, they're like, no, we want to know everything. And I'll let them know, okay, I was there for about 3 hours. And, during that time, the, wiping cloths that were used for counters and other equipment were just sitting on the counters wet, and I think you need to encourage your team to make sure that those are being held in sanitizer, because I see so many restaurants failed for this that we just need to develop those really great habits. So greasy vent hoods. So this is a really big deal because the grease holds the dirt. The dirt can fall off into cooking pots and foods, but it's also a major fire hazard. We actually had one restaurant that we were working with. where this is one of the things that we escalate if we see any kind of grease or fire hazards, really dirty hoods. We escalated to them 3 different times, and we really loved them. They were great clients and great people, and their restaurant ended up burning down, and we feel horrible about that. So this is something that we work really hard to always escalate, and we do see this sometimes. So it's really important to have those hoods evaluated. And I believe that there's a company that's an Illinois Restaurant Association member that provides this service. So definitely contact the IRA for a resource if you don't have a vendor for vent hood cleaning. And no certified food manager on site while food is being made. This one is a really big deal too. So get more people than you need certified so that if someone calls in or is late, you're still covered. And of course, the IRA offers certified food service manager classes. That's where our team takes their classes. It's an 8-hour in-person course. It's absolutely excellent. And it's really important that you comply with this because it's a big deal. So no employee health policy is another reason for some failures. So the poster that you see on your right, employee health notice, has to be posted, but then you also have to have an employee health policy. I'm providing you links to both of these. And while you could make your own employee health policy, the city provides one that they publish that I'm giving you a link to that they've deemed compliant. So why reinvent the wheel? Print their policy, stick it in the book. We've talked to a few restaurants that didn't have them. We've asked them why they didn't have them. And they say, well, it's because we need to work on it, because we need to write it. That's great. If you need to write your own policy, stick this one in your policy manual. With your SDS sheets and with everything that the inspectors are going to want to see until you get your own made. And then you can make your own in time, but definitely print the cities and stick it in there so that you're in compliance. And no metal stem thermometer was an issue that we saw repeatedly. You have to have those, and several prep coolers without thermometers. This is a really common violation, and we have this in our pre-inspection checklist that I'm giving you. So when you inspect your own operations using the last 14 slides in this slide deck, all of these items are in there. So you're going to audit yourself and make sure that you're in compliance. But just know this is a really common reason for failure, and it's very, very avoidable. So tie them onto a string so they can't walk away and disappear, have extras, but make sure you have these. And one of the most common issues is improper cold handling temperatures of time and temperature controlled foods. So the health inspector definitely carries, a whole bag full of stem thermometers, and they are going to stick them in your products when they come, and they will know if your food isn't at the right temperature. So you definitely need routine auditing of your own storage, of your own cooler temperatures so that and you're not caught by surprise when an inspector is there, or even worse, somebody could get sick. That would be very damaging to one's reputation. So definitely to be avoided. And so, for instance, one restaurant was cited for their cooler being at 47 degrees. Of course, it needs to be 40 or below. And here are some additional reasons that some of the restaurants that I audited failed. And there was no employee hand wash sign. Again, that's a resource that I'm going to provide in this deck. There's a link to the one that the city publishes, so definitely print it out and get it everywhere that's required. Mold or microbial growth, black or pink buildup in the ice maker. People ask me, if I have any difficulty dining at restaurants with what I know about pests. And absolutely not. I don't. But what I know about mold and pink and black stuff in ice makers, that might cross my mind occasionally. That really grosses me out when I read it because it's so common in these health inspection failure reports. So definitely something to check on and, periodically purge that thing so that it doesn't have any kind of buildup or growth. So no covered trash cans in the female washrooms. That's probably, because of hygiene products needing to be disposed of in female washrooms. It's really important that those cans have cover have that on a checklist. You would not believe how many restaurants are cited for this issue. Maybe the lids disappear all the time over time and no one thinks about it. So just make sure that you're using these last 14 slides of this deck to do your periodic audits. I would say monthly, but certainly not less than quarterly to make sure that you're in compliance with that. No self-closing device on the bathroom door. Those break over time and restaurants do get very commonly cited for that. If you're, opening a new location or considering opening, make sure that that's something that you budget and plan for as well. This slide deck is absolutely excellent for people who are getting ready for their first health inspection where they are going for their license application. So this checklist that I've put together based on the food code is going to be really helpful to you. The food code is over 200 pages, and it was very painstaking to pull out this very detailed and concise list of what you need to know to pass. So this will save you a lot of hours poring over the food code. It will save you a lot of grief by preventing you from failing inspections. And it happens to be the exact list that the Chicago Department of Public Health inspectors use when they're auditing you. It's the same list. So this is really key that you have this. It's really going to be great for you. So again, dusty vents, they're a fire hazard and they're also a food contamination hazard. No soap in the cook line. Employee food handler certificates are expired. Food handler prepping food without washing hands. And let's talk about pest control and passing inspections. So having a pest control vendor is not enough. If you still have pests in your restaurant, then the pest control isn't sufficient. So we solve the hardest to solve problems. So when a restaurant has lived with German cockroaches for years or lived with mice for years, and they say, our pest control company is here like twice a week now, and it's still getting worse, what can you do? I say, well, we can actually solve it for you. So pest control physically coming to your restaurant when there's a problem, or that you just have pest control for compliance, is not enough. If you still have pests, something is wrong and the pests need to be remediated. And just like you don't want your grandparents' dental care because it's not modern and not as good, you don't want your grandparents' pest control either. And a lot of what's on the market, I would say the vast majority of it, is still your grandparents' pest control. So that is not sufficient. So if you have pest control, but you still have pests, then your pest control is not up to snuff. So German cockroaches do not enter from the sewer system. So an infestation of German cockroaches should be able to be completely abated by a competent pest control vendor within 90 days. Ongoing German cockroach infestation generally indicates incompetence or nonfeasance on the part of the pest control vendor. Having German cockroaches is optional suffering. So the kind of cockroaches that your pest control vendor doesn't have control over are American cockroaches and Oriental cockroaches, because the city's sewer system is infested with those. And unless you have waterless trap seals, like made by a company called Green Drain, which I have a link to for you later, or you keep water in the P-trap of all drains, like a water barrier, but not all drains have P-traps, then Oriental and American cockroaches can enter the restaurant. Your pest control provider does have control of whether they can infest the restaurant. The definition of infest is hatch out within the subject property, so breed and increase their populations in the restaurant. So we can prevent American cockroaches and Oriental cockroaches from being able to breed in the restaurant, but we can't always prevent them from entering the restaurant, especially if you're in a gigantic building and there's a cracked pipe in a wall in someone else's unit. They will occasionally make their way in, but we can have residual products in place waiting for them to prevent them from being able to infest the restaurant. German cockroaches are very much the opposite. So German cockroaches don't enter from the sewer system. German cockroaches generally come to work with people who work in the restaurant. If they live in multi-unit properties, and it's not their responsibility to provide their pest control in multi-unit properties, it's their landlord's responsibility to provide them with pest-free apartments. So it's not their fault in any way, but they're going to bring German cockroaches in their coats and in their handbags. And it's really important that residual products are in place to prevent those German cockroach infestations. So none of our restaurant clients have German cockroach infestations, zero. And that's because even the most severe German cockroach infestation, we can fully abate because we have complete control over them because they can't continuously enter through wall voids and plumbing like American cockroaches can. And landlords, there's like this vicious cycle where landlords don't take accountability for German cockroaches in multi-unit buildings because they blame the tenants. So, but it's the landlord's responsibility. And we have monitoring set up in every single restaurant for which we provide the pest control. And German cockroaches are almost always, if they're found in the employee locker room area or right under the employee coat rack. So if you have German cockroaches more widespread, if they're in your kitchen, it's because there weren't residual products in place to prevent them from spreading. So almost all German cockroaches infestations start in the employee locker areas. So let's see. Um, Mice and rats need to be sealed out structurally. The indoor population can be fully abated once the holes through which mice and rats are entering are sealed. And let's take a peek at some ways that mice can enter. So, signs of rats include burrows, live and dead rats, rat droppings, rat gnaw marks, or holes, sebaceous rub marks. So rats have very well moisturized skin. They have a great skincare program. It's called sebum, and their bodies are really greasy and well lubricated with the sebum. And the sebum gets on things, and it creates these greasy rub marks because dirt sticks to it, and it also is dark colored as it accumulates. And rats are also evidenced by their gnaw marks on garbage carts and evidence of other feeding. And there are a lot of door sweeps, and not all door sweeps are made equally. So you can see that this is a photo that our team took, and you can see the gnaw marks right through the plastic door sweep because this is not a rodent-proof door sweep. So you not only need door sweeps, you need rodent-proof door sweeps. And the use of spray foam to keep pests out, I mean, that's like using cheese to keep pests out. Mice and rats can get right through it. So please never use spray foam or great stuff or expanding foam, whatever you want to call it, to keep pests out. I have such a huge archive of photos. This is just one of them of where mice and rats chew right through great stuff. It's never okay as a material to seal pests out. Another material that you should never use is steel wool. You know that your, scouring pad, your steel wool rusts away to nothing over time. Well, just the moisture in the air can cause steel wool that you stuff in holes to keep mice or rats out to melt away over time too. It's totally ineffective. And this is vinyl window screen being used to keep mice out of a basement window. And of course, this isn't working. Window screen does not keep mice or rats out. They've chewed right through. And brush style door sweeps also don't keep mice and rats out. They can chew right through them. They can also squeeze under them without damaging the bristles. They just get like a nice back scratch as they're going under. I see mice and rats pop under brush style door sweeps all the time. So, what kind of door sweep do you need? Well, I have no affiliation with this company in terms of like, I don't get a referral credit. I don't get anything, but you should contact them for your door sweeps. We are a team of scientists, and all of our methods and everything that we recommend to you is a product of field trials and other innovations. And this is the only door sweep that's made specifically to keep mice and rats out. And it's mouse and rat proof. We've tested it extensively. We've installed it on thousands of buildings. And it's Excluder brand, and that's spelled Xcluder. And it's made right here in Chicago on the west side by a company called GMT. And the company's own website, I have a link to in this deck that you're receiving, is called buyexcluder.com. They sell this on Amazon. You're going to pay more for it on Amazon. So contact the company, ask for a rep, and get yourself everything that you need for your building at significantly discount prices compared to what you would order this on Amazon for. So let's talk about small flies and dirty drains. Small flies are another kind of optional suffering. So every client that our team visits, every restaurant client, we put in an enzymatic drain treatment on every visit. However, if we're on monthly service, then the life cycle of flies and the speed at which food residues can build up is faster than a month. So even on monthly service, even with an enzymatic product going into drains, if it's a dirty drain and there's a lot of material to catch food residue, you could potentially have small flies. Our clients have so many fewer small flies because we're taking these steps, but you still could. So it's important to get this accumulated residue out of drains and get them clean. A smelly drain is always a dirty drain. If you have any drains that have an odor, you need to get your drains cleaned. So there's a company we recommend for this. And they serve a lot of our clients because we recommend them. We don't get any kind of kickback. We don't get any kind of referral fee. We have no incentive to recommend them other than wanting to protect you. They're called Drains Made Simple. And on their first visit, they do a steam jetting of the drains and get the drains sparkling immaculate. And then they come monthly and do an enzymatic treatment in the drain. And they are shockingly economical. If what I'm describing right now as a program sounds expensive, I imagined it would be too. I was absolutely shocked how economical this company is. So, all of the biggest restaurant groups that we work for, we have turned them onto this company. They use them for all of their locations. So, definitely at least contact Drains Made Simple, get a quote for your restaurant if you have any stinky drains or any small flies, and you'll be shocked how reasonable their pricing is. So, the list of helpful links that I've promised you, these are all links to all of these resources. So, the first resource I want to tell you about is if you're seeing this presentation today, we're going to give you a free on-site consultation. So, I have our customer service email there. I have our telephone number. You can get that scheduled, and we will come to your site and evaluate the pest control efforts and give you a report about any improvements we feel that you need to be inspection ready. The rest of the list of links that I've provided is the Chicago food code rules. You need to, one of the things that restaurants are cited for not having is vomit and diarrhea cleanup procedures sample plan. That is a plan that's deemed compliant by the city. If you have not written your own plan, please just print that and stick it in your book. You have to have that. Employee health policy sample, again, please stick that in your book. If you're working on your own, just put that in the meantime because it's a plan that's been deemed compliant by the city. They've provided it. That's the link to it. Just go print it. Allergen notice provided by the city. So all of these are provided by the city. And anything that they've provided that you're required to have, which you're required to have that entire list, just make sure you get those printed and get them everywhere they need to be because that's such low hanging fruit about making you inspection ready because your regulatory agency has provided the documents for you. So no reason to not have those. Then I provided you a full copy of the FDA food code and the Illinois food code and the Illinois vomit and diarrhea cleanup procedure example. So if you're in Chicago, then you need this one, the second one in the list under Chicago. And if you're outside of Chicago, then it's the Illinois plan that you're required to comply with. So make sure you have a copy of that if your restaurant is not in Chicago. But you also, again, want to contact the municipality that you're in and ask them for all of their audit standards that pertain to restaurants because it's possible that the town of whatever, the village of whatever, could have their own requirement in addition to this. So this is the checklist that I'm talking with you about. And you can, take this slide deck, you can pull this checklist out of it. You can put it into your own training materials. If you need it in a different format and you want this in PowerPoint format because you want to turn it into your own training or your own auditing standard that you run through with your organization, I will share anything with you. You can have anything you want. Just shoot me an email and let me know how I can support you. So this is the 14 slide checklist that you need to audit your own facility. It's the exact set of standards that the CDPH inspector is using when they visit your restaurant. So you need to definitely run through this with your team periodically, not less than quarterly. Monthly is way better. This needs to be second nature to your whole team so that you're always inspection ready. And I'm just going to click through these really quick. We don't need to read all of these because you'll have this resource and you're experts on these issues. But if you have questions about them, you're welcome to contact me and I'm happy to talk with you on the phone about how others comply with these. If you have, some kind of challenge or you don't quite understand how to comply, the Chicago Department of Public Health is also happy to answer that question. They love when you reach out to them proactively to have something interpreted. So you can contact them, you can contact me, and you have all the support you need to pass your health inspections. And this is their standard for vermin control. So the facility has to be completely free from insects and rodents. Outside doors and screen doors are in good repair and have rodent-proof door sweeps where needed to prevent gaps under doors. The facility is constructed and maintained such as to prevent entrance by vermin, including window screens. Air curtains are operating properly and in good repair. Pest control logbooks contain at least 2 service reports per year in the pest control vendor's business license. So if you're only getting pest control once a year or twice a year, sorry, or if you're getting it less than once a month, you are not likely to pass. You're more likely to fail. So our minimum standard for pest control for Category 1 restaurants is monthly. We have the highest health inspection passage rate, and that's because I'm not willing to put my name on your facility by having my logbook there without having my eyes on your facility once a month. So monthly pest control is really key for a good restaurant, and only good restaurants are members of the Illinois Restaurant Association. So if you're hearing this presentation, you're at the level that you need monthly pest control. So if you don't have monthly pest control, you need to increase your frequency of pest control to monthly. Any recommendations made by the pest control vendor have been resolved, such as directives to clean up droppings, remove clutter, or harborage. So again, this is 14 different slides about every single thing that the CDPH inspector is going to inspect on your site. I've even scripted the conversation that they're going to have with your manager on site because they get there and they ask for the manager present. And the manager has to show knowledge in response to these questions. So you want to script out the responses that your managers on site are supposed to provide in response to these questions. And they're also all provided in the other slides and in the information that I've provided in this deck about the food code. So I'm happy to take questions now. I'm thrilled that we have a few questions in the chat, and I want to open it up to you at this point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yeah, as you said, we'll go ahead and answer a few questions. So one of them, the first question is, what is the primary cause of restaurant inspection failures? Is there a common inspection issue most linked to pest infestations in restaurants?
So that's a good question. So everything that I have in the slides in the beginning of the presentation are the issues that cause failures with the greatest frequency. And in terms of pests, it's mice and cockroaches first, and then small flies are the most likely issues to cause a failure. So thanks for your question.
Great. And then another question is, do your treatments target all stages of a cockroach's life cycle, including eggs, or is follow-up treatment required?
Thanks for your question. So you always need follow-up treatment when it comes to cockroaches. The pregnant or gravid female cockroaches hang out in the wall voids and they drop their egg sacs in the wall voids. And they don't come out to eat. So the males that come out to eat products that hopefully they're really modern products because bug bombs don't do this. So if somebody sets off a bug bomb in your restaurant or does any kind of like fumigation, it's the worst thing you can ever have done. And it makes the problems so much harder to solve. Bug bombs and fumigation cannot solve problems in restaurants. So basically, let's say someone does a fumigation or a bug bomb, it drives more cockroaches deeper into the wall voids. It only kills the males that are out foraging at the time. And then there's no residual effect. So the bug bomb only works on the insects that it touches and that it lands on. It doesn't have any ability to remain effective the next day. Whereas modern products that have lower toxicity and greater effectiveness let that cockroach keep functioning after they touch and eat that product. And then because of the female's aggregation pheromones, the males are then going to go deep into the wall voids where the females and the egg casings are, and the males are going to defecate. And what's coming out of them is the low toxicity but very effective products that they ate. The females and the babies then eat that, and it takes out the entire life cycle. That probably needs to be repeated because they can be even deeper, or the egg case, has a longer hatching cycle because they're variable. So multiple treatments are always needed to knock out a cockroach population. So, for instance, we're called in to solve the hardest to solve problems, the restaurants where they're just climbing on the walls, during service. And these aren't bad restaurants. These are great restaurants. Some of these are iconic restaurants. They just had incompetent pest control. They were placing the call. They were saying, hey, we have these cockroaches. We need you to take care of them. The pest control vendors showing up, they just don't know how to abate it because they're doing bug bombs and fumigation, which are completely ineffective to completely resolve a cockroach problem. So what we're doing instead is we're doing multiple treatments. So let's say a severely infested restaurant that's had German cockroaches for years. In 12 weeks, we're fully abating that problem so that zero cockroaches are present. However, they're on weekly service for that 12 weeks. So multiple treatments are required. Follow-up treatments are required. Monthly pest control service frequency is required. But as a result, none of our clients have German cockroach issues, and we have the highest health inspection passage rate compared to every other vendor. So thank you so much for that question.
I was going to say, I think the takeaway is that the problems are solvable, which is good news. Very good
Definitely.
news to hear.
Definitely. And anyone is welcome to, come off of mute, raise your hand if you want to ask your question verbally. We're happy to have a conversation. So please share any questions you may have. And sometimes people's pest control issues are private. So if you want to have these
Yes.
conversations privately, I have my contact info on the screen too.
Yes, I was going to say, I imagine some people would prefer to email you just because it sounds like it's a common problem, but I do get the sense that people are, a little bit shy about it. So,
Absolutely.
with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and thank you, Rebecca, Director of Research at Landmark Pest Management, for the great presentation.
Thank
I'd also like to thank the Cook County Small Business Source for their continued support. And then, as we mentioned before, after this session, attendees will receive an email with links to the recording and presentation, and you'll have Rebecca's information so you can reach out with any other questions. So thank you all for attending. Thank you again, Rebecca, and have a great day.